Good morning. Basa na tayo na ating libro, guys. Kapwa ko Filipino, magbasa na tayo na ating history. History of the Filipino People by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is 21 January 2023. Yung note ko dyan, guys, pakibasa na lang. Kasi yung napunit na dalawang pages ng 5th edition, part 4, topic 15, pinalitan natin ng 8th edition. Pero nasa part 4 pa rin. And then topic 15. Kaya lang guys, napansin ko magkaiba ng title sila doon sa 5th edition. So, buong 15 ang babasahin ko na tuloy. Napasubo. Okay. Today is nasa letter A na tayo. Tama. Letter E. Nandito tayo sa topic 15. The continuing resistance 1901-1913. Tapos nandito tayo sa paragraph ng letter E. The Highlanders reaction. Basa. Letter E. The Highlanders reaction. A. Back to tradition. In the late 19th century, the tribal groups had to a certain extent joined the revolutionary movement against colonialism. Although they were not integrated into the Aguinaldo government and armed forces, they nevertheless opposed the Spanish elements quite often because of what they perceived to be a definite Spanish effort to subdue them and to change their way of life. In Luzon, this type of reaction was represented by the Igorot armed struggle until the end of Spanish rule. In Mindanao, the Manobos joined the Muslim response to Spanish foothold by providing assistance to political leaders in need of support. But the American entry into the archipelago neutralized whatever violent reaction the tribal groups had against colonial rule. The tribal communities either continued to recoil further into the safety of inaccessible sanctuaries, or they accepted the conciliatory approach of American rule, which made effective use of schools, churches, and medical services to win tribal confidence and friendship. The tribal communities in Luzon were won over by American Episcopal missionaries and later by medical missions and schools. The same was true in the Visayas, particularly in the Negros and Iloilo, where Presbyterian missions contributed to health and sanitation and education at the grassroots level. Eventually, the conciliatory and humanitarian work produced a core of native collaboration who gradually assumed the work of reaching out to their own people with just general supervisory control from the colonial officials. In the Mindanao area, the work of pacification was also undertaken by American laymen, entrepreneurs, and teachers, particularly during the period of the Moro province from 1903 to 1906. The lands and Lamazons in the Subanun country of Zamboanga opened the socio-economic potentials of the area. Coconuts were introduced. Wait lang guys Ulitin ko, in the Mindanao area, the work of pacification was also undertaken by American laymen, entrepreneurs, and teachers, particularly during the period of the Moro province from 1903 to 1906. The lands and Lamazons in the Subanun country of Zamboanga opened the socio-economic potentials of the area. Coconuts were introduced in Lapuyan and other areas to improve agricultural income, but perhaps more effective were the efforts of American capitalists and planters we started to explore the commercial and trade potentials of Mindanao, especially in Davao. Ties was to neutralize any resistance to colonial rule. Letter B. The Subanun Affair, 1909. The only violent disturbance reported in Mindanao was in 1909 among the Subanuns. The constabulary report from the 5th district to the headquarters in Zamboanga referred to a fight on November 28 at the city of Bobhoran between government forces under Captain H. H. Ilart and about 8 to 900 Subanuns and Moros. Before the encounter, the headman of Bobhoran reported on November 1 that thousands of Subanuns were leaving their homes and farms and were heading towards the mountains of the Piok and Malindang on the call of two boy prophets who told him that the end of the world was coming. He declared that the sea would cover all the lands except the highest peaks, and all who would not seek refuge in the sacred mountains would run and die. The people were advised not to take along any possession except what they needed for their journey to the mountains from where they would be taken to heaven. The authorities were alarmed by the abandonment of homes, properties, and farms, as it might just be one of the tricks of bad elements to deprive the Subanuns of their valuables and harvests. The headman was ordered to stop the movement, and his deputy named Torok was ordered to proceed to the mountains to get full information on the affair. On November 20, Deputy Torok returned and reported that the Subanun camps on the Buburan River were about 4.5 days from the Pitan, the station of the PC First Company. He also reported being stopped by about 30 men and was taken to their two leaders, Romualdo and Islao. When the people were told that the constabulary troops were coming, there was tension and panic in the camps. Some Subanuns prepared to run away. Later, they were prevailed upon by about 30 Moros, among them to remain and to take their spears and lances. With the information, Captain Elart and his troops started for the Piok and requested Misamis to send reinforcements to the area. On November 28, about 12:30 p.m., they met a group of Subanuns who were returning to their homes. After negotiations, Captain Elart started talks with the leaders, appealing to them to lay down their weapons and arms. The band obeyed, and their spears and lances were confiscated, but the ordinary bolos were returned. Captain Elart found out that the band was tired waiting to go to heaven and decided to go home to Tuogan, as food shortages in the camps were creating suffering. Rice and money were given to the band. One was asked to accompany the troops to the camp. Upon reaching the camp, the Subanuns scampered to the bushes. Headman Toros was ordered to contact the leaders for talks. 6 of them came out to give information. Then the troops took positions nearby, trying to persuade the people to abandon their activities, but the Moros and Bisayas, among them about 40 to 50, started to agitate the Subanuns. Soon about 1,000 were out with their spears and lances. The message was clear that a fight was imminent. There was no doubt that the Moros would lead the charge. An appeal to lay down their arms was followed by a big Moro who was apparently the leader. At his shout, the spears and lances were hurled, and the Moros attacked the troops. After the fight, 6 constabulary, 1 policeman, and 4 cargadores were killed. On the other side, 20 to 40 were killed, mainly Moros. Captain Elart was sent from Emory Spur by Sergeant Bernardo Almes, who shielded him from the trust and died to avoid another attack from the fanatics. The troops withdrew and returned to camp, bringing with them the guns and ammunition of their dead who were left behind and buried. The constabulary report ended with a reference to the detachments appearing in the site of the encounter and conclusion that the Moros and Visayans were the brains behind the movement for some sinister purposes and material gains. Letter F. Literature of resistance. While the elite Letter F. Literature of resistance. While the elite was co-opted by colonialism, thus giving to the masses the mantle of revolution and armed resistance, there were those among the Ilustrados who contributed intellectually to revolutionary cause despite the passage of the Sedition Act of 1902, which punished any form of agitation or sedition, including through the printed page or the theater. Tagalog writers expressed resistance through the zarzuela, which was a popular form of entertainment during the Spanish period. Dramas were also effectively used in attacking American colonialism. Juan Abad wrote the play Tanikalangginto and was punished by the court for sedition and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment and $2,000 fine. But he was later acquitted by the Supreme Court, to which the case was elevated after a tedious trial. Not cowed by the punishment, Abad continued to write seditions plays including Isang Punlo ng Kaaway, but perhaps of far-reaching significance was Aurelio Tolentino's role in literary struggle. His nationalistic play Kahapon, Ngayon at Bukas indicted American role and predicated the outbreak of violent Filipino resistance to further American intrusion. Tolentino meant to infect the rest of the country with virus nationalism, and his play was translated into Pampango and Bicol. The play was also shown in various theaters in the country, especially in Manila. Nandali lang guys, nagluluha na talaga mata ko. Lalo lumalaban pagka nagluluha. Hindi na kaya matagalang basa. Okay, ulit tayo. But perhaps of far-reaching significance was Aurelio Tolentino's role in the literary struggle. His nationalistic play Kahapon, Ngayon at Bukas indicted American role and predicated the outbreak of violent Filipino resistance to further American intrusion. Tolentino meant to infect the rest of the country with the virus of nationalism, and his play was translated into Pampango and Bicol. The play was also shown in various theaters in the country, especially in Manila, thus getting the ire of the American authorities. In 1905, Tolentino was arrested and tried for sedition and was given the maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Although his term was reduced subsequently to 15 and then to 8, it was not until 1912 that he was pardoned by Governor William C. Forbes. The literature of resistance was not limited to dramatists and playwrights. Newsmen and journalists were also active in articulating the value of independence and the need for nationalism. Those of the elite or ilustrados as figured in the type of resistance were Jaime C. de Vera of Leyte, Sergio Osmeña of Cebu, Rafael Palma of Manila, and several others, including those in the Visayas and Mindanao. El Nuevo Dia, which was founded by Osmeña, was known for its nationalistic fervor. De Vera and Palma were regular contributors. The same was true of the El Renacimiento which was founded by Palma. The paper exposed American anomalies and abuses in the government. The most famous of the cases was that of Interior Secretary then C. War Sister, whose activities were summed up in libelous editorial entitled Aves de Rapiña, Birds of Prey. Guys, bukas na yung topic number 16, compromise with with colonialism. Pero titingnan ko dito sa sa magkaiba talaga sila. Yung topic 16 ng 8 tsaka topic 16 ng paano bang gagawin natin dito? Basta babalik na ako sa guys. Babalik na ako sa topic 15 topic 16 ng 5th edition. Nahirapan ako talaga dito sa 8th edition magbasa. Pero nagluluha naman ako. Balik ako sa sa 5th edition, guys. Kasi maliliit masyado to dito sa akin. So nahirapan ako. Bye everyone. God bless.